Let's do this. Cheyenne Syverson, we get to have a conversation today here on LinkedIn Live. It's a Monday. Happy Monday to you.
Happy Monday to you too.
And what I just want to give some context for what we're doing here for people who might be watching right now, is that I do these LinkedIn Lives. I also do Instagram Lives with members of Confidently Speaking, which is my weekly improv workout for speakers. And it's much more than that as well, because as you know, we are hosted in Mighty Networks. There's lots of resources, and we've got a community of people that's growing, and it's so awesome and very humbling. And you're one of my members, and I'm just so glad and grateful that you're in the group. And so today we get to talk about you, and I get to lift up your voice and what makes you so remarkable. And one thing I have to say, can I share? Tell me where you're from again, because I've been there.
In Wyoming, Riverton, Wyoming.
Riverton, Wyoming. My good friend Amy Shelley is also from Riverton, Wyoming. And I got to see the eclipse in Riverton, Wyoming.
And I was there too. It was fabulous.
And you were there, and I didn't know you then. And if I had, we could have seen the eclipse together.
Yes, absolutely. That would have been amazing.
Thank you. And it looks like it was very cool. It was a very surreal time.
Yes.
Vanessa, thank you for being here. Sandy, thank you for being here. We're so excited to have this conversation with Cheyenne today. So Cheyenne, I would love for you to just take this moment. I know you as this amazing human, and you've talked a lot about finances and financial literacy. And I would love for you to just take a moment to introduce yourself to the people who are watching right now.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Meredith. Yes, so I am a customized financial coach. I was in lending for 18 years, and I help people along the way with finance and their credit, and really grew a passion of loving people and seeing them light up with new hope and new concepts that can go, oh, I hadn't thought of that. So I like to offer solutions without that criticism or judgment, just because they're already your own worst critic. Like, you don't need someone else criticizing for mistakes. And along the way, I've had my own life happen, from a house fire, divorce, job loss, and all these things that just made me go, holy smokes, I'm not ready for this. And so I want to help people prepare their life so when life happens, because it's going to, it's just whether, what does that look like, that they can breathe a little bit easier because they have a solution or a plan in place.
Yeah, it's so important, right? And I always like to say the adulting time, like starting to pay attention to those things are really important. And I want to say thank you to the people who are here watching right now. I see you. And if you do have questions or have any specific questions for Cheyenne or for myself during this conversation, please feel free to put those in the chat. And I love that your dogs are participating in this conversation as well. More the merrier, I say. So I do have a question for you, Cheyenne, which is, life happens, which we all know, and we've all had different experiences as life happens. And I'm curious, what do you wish had been one thing you had in place when life started to happen? And you had mentioned a few things that have happened, like divorce, you had a house fire. So what's one thing that when you go back, you're like, I really wish I had?
I wish I would have had access to the solutions I have now when I was 18 and first started working. I would have made a financial plan that would have actually built money and had money working for me, instead of me always having to exchange time for money. I would ask around, and so many people didn't know. And that's what I found out with helping people as a lender. When I was a lender doing coaching, is like, well, how do you? I was like, I'll talk to a financial advisor. And now, since in my own journey, I've learned ways to help protect you and save you in the future. And just having that in place would have made it feel so I wasn't so stuck in different situations, scrambling, trying to figure out a way out.
Yeah, thank you for that. So if someone was in your situation right now, you're talking to your young self, what would be the first baby step? Because I know sometimes when we paint in broad strokes, it can be overwhelming for some people. So what would be the one step?
The one step to find that plan that makes your money work for you, and then find ways to make more income, because as you know, inflation goes bananas on its own. That's something out of your control. So having those ways that your money is working for you and having more streams of income makes it so you can breathe a little easier when things happen outside of your control.
Yeah, 100%. Do you feel like that one step would be going to see a financial advisor to get that plan?
Yeah, or even a financial coach. Everybody has their own approach to it. So
Mhm.
it just depends on your financial situation to see what would be the best starting point. But yeah, find someone who knows their money that can help you with those steps to get your money working for you for sure.
And I would imagine too, I mean, I know for myself that speaking about money and also who I was raised by, it can be really vulnerable for people to
Hmm.
even uh, find the right people because they're admitting that they need help.
Hmm.
And so I'm curious, how was that for you when you first realized that you needed help?
Yeah, it was definitely scary. It's been quite a journey of asking a lot of questions and just reflecting too on my own habits going, wait a minute, why did I just do that again? And being open to find the solutions brings the solutions to you too.
Being, yeah, I think being open is key, right? Because
Yeah.
I've been, I've been thinking a lot about the coachable versus the not so coachable human, and there's a lot of people that already have all the answers,
Hmm.
and that's really difficult. And so I think it's leading with that level it's of curiosity, recognizing that you have work to do. I always say I'm a constant work in progress. I am never going to not be a work in progress.
Right,
progress.
right. And the other thing I have is people always say, I just like to stuff my head in the sand and not look at it because they're scared of where it was at. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you got to address where you're at to know where you're going. And so, yeah, just being open to going, oh, well, I screwed up. All right, we're going to fix it here on out. How can I learn more to do better? And
And
then
it's
just about
okay.
having that
Yeah.
mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, having that mindset, it's okay. And then I feel that when you go through this journey, you start to ask the questions, you start to share a little bit more about yourself and some of the let's just say barriers that you put up for yourself sometimes, or the
Mhm.
stick in your head in the sand kind of thing, is that you're not alone, that there's so many people that are
Yeah.
experiencing exactly what you're experiencing. And
Hmm.
that's the beauty of opening up and being honest and finding those people. I like that Sandy said, finding the right person and knowing who to trust.
Right.
So
Yeah.
really
Absolutely.
taking that time to build the relationships with people.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And just showing that vulnerable self, but you do need to find those trustworthy people that not going to add more criticism and judgment to what you've already where you've been. Because everybody has their journey. That's what I've learned in life. You never know what's behind someone's smile. You don't know what the journey they've been in, and sometimes it's not even words that they need. Yeah. And over my period of time, I would offer people a hug when you could see they were just struggling. And I don't think in my 18 years I ever was turned down. I had some that would kind of go, wow, that's unique. But yes, I would take a hug and they're kind of uncomfortable. And then there are ones that hang on for dear life. And sometimes it just, just being there for some people, no matter where they're at in life, no words can really help them through it sometimes. And sometimes it's just being there as a calm presence for them can
Yeah.
help a lot.
Yeah. So you just it's a what I'm hearing you say is meeting people really with where they're at and where they're at in their process, and that it's baby steps for some people, and some people can
Right.
take larger leaps, but it's really meeting them with where they're at. Hi, Constance. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So I'm also curious about this piece for you as well, Cheyenne. So tell me a little bit about once you started to take steps towards financial literacy and the things that you've learned. Can you share with us a little bit about how that changed you as well as a person?
Yeah, so it built me to be stronger because learning to face those challenges head on and figure out why I kept doing the same things over and over, knowing it wasn't helping or not having that solution in place where when life happened, I could be ready for it. And I mean, I learned things about myself even to this day that are shocking, like, oh, I did not know that's why I did X, Y, and Z. And once I started having that open mindedness about the awareness, I gained more knowledge to help me solve those um, same habits that were reoccurring. As they say, you keep doing the same thing, expecting different results is insanity. And so I kept going, okay, obviously I must be a little bit insane because I keep doing the same thing. And so just being open to finding different solutions and having different opinions. There's a wide array of people with different financial solutions and concepts and ways to go at it. But it's really being open to how can you take even bits and pieces from all that
Hmm.
to fit to your situation, because everybody's situation is a little bit different, and not one person is the end all be all for finding that solution for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that you said that too. Even in your own little like micro world. So for example, my husband and I, we process things and we organize things very differently. So it's
Hmm.
what we've been in search of is a system that both of us will be able to repeatedly use so that we can have these conversations with each other. So it's even on down to that level. And yeah, the baby steps, thank you, Constance, are so important, and to scale slowly. It's just like it's adding little things in at a time so that you can build that. And one other thing I want to talk about that you alluded to was just noticing, I say often that Allen Ginsberg quote, notice what you notice.
Hmm.
Notice what you're doing again and again, what patterns creep up in particular situations. I'll give a quick example, and I don't care being vulnerable here, but we just finished our taxes and it was overwhelming this year because we sold a house, we've got cap gains, we've got the whole thing, right?
Hmm.
When we got the ticket, like when we found out how much we owe, it was like all the work I've done went whoosh, out the window, and I was right back in my little girl self again, having a reaction, a very like dramatic reaction about the number. And my husband had to look me in the eye, and he said, "Do you breathe first of all?" And then he's such a great mirror for me. He's like, do you kind of see what's happening right now? And I went, oh my God, all that all that work, like I'm making this much bigger than I need to. And I feel like it is a process. And I think when the more work we do, the more
Hmm.
self-aware we can become, and that we're still constantly learning.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's ways around that, from, putting amount of your commissions or income away every month into a separate account to
Yep.
prepare for it. So that when you get that tax bill, and hopefully it's less than what you have saved, but at least then you know that you're taking that stand against and go, okay, I know I got to do this every year. How can
Yeah.
I make it less dramatic when that time comes? And it's just those simple steps.
And I also like to switch the word a little bit from have to get. I get to do this every year.
Yeah.
I get
Yeah.
to run a
Absolutely.
business. I get to be a badass. I
Yeah.
get to
You
pay my
certainly are.
taxes.
Right. Yeah, you get to look at it as I'm profitable enough to need to do that, to have this opportunity, and how thankful is that?
Yeah, yeah. Well, do you know what I love about you so much, Cheyenne, is you have this very calming presence to you, and you're very just matter of fact about things, and it's just really lovely. And so I imagine the people that work with you just get this really just, hey, this is where we're at. This is what we're going to
Mhm.
do. And I really appreciate that about you.
Thanks, Meredith. Yeah, you're amazing too. I've loved working with Confidently Speaking, to get on my own way with other things. So yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, it's been really terrific to have you in the group. And just to give people a little context about Confidently Speaking and the reason why we do these LinkedIn Lives, we also do Instagram Lives. We do these with different members. It's a couple of things. One is I've got this weekly improv workout for speakers. We do improv exercises. It's also a robust group that's hosted in Mighty Networks, and there's lots of resources in there for speakers as well, and a nice support system for people. Uh, is to get everyone doing different things, whether that be on a LinkedIn Live or doing a video challenge for social media or developing a talk and presenting it. So this month, for example, everyone's, or not everyone, but a lot of people are participating in a 10-minute presentation, and they have a structure that they were given and they're going to deliver those. And then the other pieces that I get to lift up, because everyone in that group is an entrepreneur of some sort. And so we get to lift each other up and talk about each other's businesses and where our zones of brilliance are. And that is really exciting for me because we have some dynamic souls in that group like yourself. And I think it's really important that all of you get out there even more.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It really, I truly believe with being a growth minded person is when you see something you want to do, you just do it. Step out of your comfort zone and and just get it done. And I love how Confidently Speaking, how we do all these exercises and you don't realize you're learning until you apply it later. You're like, oh yeah, I picked that up from Confidently Speaking. And it definitely is helpful for sure, getting out of your own way, that safe comfort zone to be able to explore it. It's one of the things I look forward to every week. I usually leave with my cheeks hurting because I'm laughing or smiling through the whole thing.
Yeah, we do have a lot of fun.
We do have a ton of fun. And so, yeah, it's definitely helped me on a lot of levels. And like you said, just having the camaraderie of the group is huge.
Yeah.
Especially since we are all business owners. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have our very first in-person retreat coming up in October, which will be interesting and fun. And I'm excited to maybe try to do that. We're doing it in Mexico, and I'm going to try to do one in the US as well at some point, because there's something really fun about meeting and doing that work here on Zoom and being able to. I just feel so lucky that we can work with people from all over the world. Is just such a gift. Like, I'm incredibly grateful for that every day. And then there's also something to be said about physically being in the space with other people, and what that brings is really also incredible and important, especially as speakers, and that physical presence that we all have. So this has been really great, Cheyenne. I'm curious if there is well, first of all, how can people find you and how can people work with you? And then I'll ask the second question.
All right. Fantastic. Thanks, Meredith.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I'm on LinkedIn. I have Instagram. Look up my full name and it's there.
Here, I'll put it here.
So I'm easy to find. But yeah, LinkedIn is a good place to start. My website will be out here shortly, called Inspiring Solutions for You. But right now, the best place is probably on LinkedIn. And I do have a invite-only private group called Life Finance on Facebook as well. So they're all invited to come and join that as well, to get little tips on finance as well.
Okay, so that's terrific. So just reach out to you if they're curious about that. And then for now, LinkedIn, and you're having a website developed right now. So it sounds like you're moving and grooving and making some stuff happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really exciting. Well, you keep letting us know let me know how I can support you, because I am a fan. And also, please, if you're curious about Confidently Speaking, I take members 4 times a year. I will be taking members again the end of July. And then if you want to get on that wait list, just go ahead and email me, contact me here, DM me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to get you on that wait list. But let's go back to Cheyenne. I want you, if you don't mind, to leave all of us with one step, like one courageous step that we can take going into the into the month of May.
Fantastic.
Embrace your mistakes. I call them gifts. Go ahead.
Right.
Month of May.
Yeah, the month of May. I'll have to keep that in mind. Especially when you get the munchies for a snack at midnight, right?
Totally.
Yeah. So one of the things, is realizing where your money's going. And I always tell people or recommend use a do not buy list, because you're inundated with ways to buy, spend. And we don't always have enough triggers or thoughts of, how do I stop buying these impulsive purchases? And so I actually have a do not buy list beneath my grocery list. So when I've put the multiple thing on the shelf, or there's something that I've thought of, but I probably won't implement on an idea, I put it on the do not buy list as a reminder to me, I don't need that right yet. And that just has helped me save a lot of money.
That's really brilliant. Can I ask, is it okay if I ask, what's one thing on your do not buy list?
Usually it's something that I've already had multiples of, like I'll buy tuna in a case. It's on there. Another thing I have is a book list, because everybody, when you're a growth minded, always is referring, oh, you got to have this book. It's fabulous. But I saved over $600 having a book list where I literally just dump the recommendations on there. And if that recommendation comes up multiple times, then I'll consider the purchase. But most often I already have a shelf full of books. I really don't need to add on to it today unless I promise I'm going to read it right away. Otherwise, I'll get on a squirrel moment and go off to the next book recommendation. And so I use a book list. I put them all on there, and it saved me over $600.
Oh my goodness, that's brilliant. Yeah, and you are surrounded by a bunch of people who have growth mindset. They're like books coming out every day. It's like, buy this book. That started happening to me yesterday. And I'll listen to a book. This is so funny. I was listening to a book on the train yesterday, and
Mhm.
the author recommended 3 books that inspired her. So of course I start looking those up. You're so
Yeah.
right. Like we could totally go down a rabbit hole of buying all of these books. That's so funny. So Vanessa has can't buy much when you live the van life. Truth. I have lived the van life. I can attest to that. 300 square feet is what ours was. So taking photos of pretty things in store windows to look at on my phone. I love that when you're traveling. That's so great. And I will also say that works for living in a Manhattan apartment. And I
Yeah.
can't buy in bulk. Like I don't do the Costco thing because you
Right.
can't store things. So you have to be very intentional.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's very cool. Thank you. Cheyenne, I appreciate you being here, taking the time to talk about financial literacy and helping motivate people to start, like you said, pulling their head out of the sand. Someone
Yeah.
said something anyway. I'll avoid that for later because I was about to say a bad word. But anyway, yes, and then moving and grooving forward and paying attention to finances. And if people want to reach out, they can find you on LinkedIn. Thank you. And for those of you who are interested in confidently speaking, I'm Meredith Grundy. Please also connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me at grundycoaching.com. And if you want to get on the wait list to be on Confidently Speaking, I would love to have you. We have lots of fun. Okay, let's say goodbye. Are you ready, Cheyenne?
Yeah.
We can do our wave goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, LinkedIn. Goodbye, YouTube. Goodbye, Facebook.